Howdy, and welcome to Lee Reads, where I talk about the books I've been reading and enjoying lately. Today, we are going to do the end of the year book tag. It really is more about what are your plans for quarter four, since it's finally fall now. The first question is, are there any books you started this year that you need to finish? Definitely yes. I do frequently DNF books, so I'm not worried about those, but there are a handful that I've started that I still plan on finishing. One of those is The Bone Shard Daughter by Andrea Stewart. I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm only about a quarter of the way into the novel, and it's one of my high priority books to finally finish. The last few weeks have just been a little bit weird, so after I started it, I had to put it down. Another one is Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. I originally put down the physical copy of the novel, but I heard great things about the audiobook. I since have started the audiobook, and I like it a lot better in audio form. Hopefully I'll be finishing that one soon, and I will be talking about it in a reading wrap-up. The last book is one that I started way back when it first came out, which I think was April. Where has the year gone? Which is the most recent Sarah J. Maas book in the A Court of Thorns and Roses series, A Court of Wings and Ruin. This novel focuses on Feyre's sister Nesta and her relationship with Cassian. I really like Cassian. Nesta is definitely one of those characters that's unlikable, but for good reason. However, it's made it a little harder for me to want to be in her head for too long, but I do plan on finishing this one. Question number 2. Do you have an autumnal book to transition you into the end of the year? Yes. I don't do this every year, but I would say every other year or so, once the weather actually gets cool. And I live in Texas, so it doesn't reliably get cool here until October-ish, and even then, we can still have pretty warm spells all the way through to November. But once the weather reliably gets cool, I always want to reread The Fellowship of the Ring. This is the copy of the Lord of the Rings that I got after that first movie came out, 20 years ago now? Is that it? The version that I reread is the audiobook. Something about Frodo and the Fellowship setting out in the fall and the blustery cool weather. I still want to set out on that adventure with Frodo and the rest of them every time it starts to get a little bit cold outside. If you've never read The Lord of the Rings, audiobook fashion may be a good way to go about it. Question number 3. Is there a new release you're still waiting for? Yes, there is. I've mentioned both of these briefly before, but I'm excited for Jade Legacy by Fonda Lee, which is the third and final book in the Greenbone saga. This saga focuses on different family members of the No Peak clan, which are a very powerful family in Kekon who are at odds with another clan over territories and the ability to control jade. People who are able to wear jade can experience having enhanced abilities, but not everyone can handle it. And in the first novel, we are hearing more about a new drug that's come on the market to help people, Stone Eyes, people who can't control jade magic, be able to wear jade without getting really ill and dying. What I like about this series is the characters, the different positions they're in, the warring loyalties they have, and of course just the fight scenes with the jade magic. It's all just really cool. It's an interesting twist on urban fantasy with a very unique setting. So many times while reading, I just yell at a character for doing something a little bit outrageous, but yet it totally fits with their personality and motivations. It can be a little bit brutal, but I just highly recommend this trilogy. I'm very excited to finish reading it. The other book that I'm eagerly awaiting is Margaret Rogerson's Vespertine, which I talked about in a recent video. Question 4, what are 3 books that you want to finish reading by the end of the year? The easy answer would be the Expanse novels 7, 8, and 9, but I'll just lump them all together. Other options that I definitely want to read are the books that I included in my fall TBR video. I still want to read all of those before the end of the year. Going with some new choices, I was looking through my Kindle library, and I own quite a few novels that I'm still very interested in reading and really need to make time for. The first is a science fiction classic, Hyperion. The second is a new fantasy mystery release called Piranesi. Last is a humorous but bloody fantasy adventure, Kings of the Wild. Question number 5. Is there a book that you think could still shock you and become your favorite of the year? I don't know. I was very swept away by Dark of the West, well, the whole trilogy earlier this year. I don't know if anything that I'm planning to read coming up can sweep me up like that trilogy did, but of course I am hopeful. I always want to have positive reading experiences. And also, if I do get to Rhythm of War by Brandon Sanderson, that could very well do it. The last question, have you already started making plans for what you want to read next year? Not really. I'm a mood reader. There are some new authors that I've discovered recently, some older authors such as Lewis McMaster Bujold that I want to read more of their stuff. But also I want to read new releases and stay on top of the science fiction and fantasy genres. I think I'll be trying to check out Adrian Tchaikovsky. Lately, I've been very inspired to reread Mistborn, with the Last Empire trilogy by Brandon Sanderson. Also, the Skyward series. Mistborn I read a long time ago, and I remember enjoying it, but I don't remember the depth and the details of it and the intricacies of all the magic systems. And Skyward, originally, I had sort of dismissed it because I thought the protagonist sounded a little too young to my taste, but I understand that she grows up, and I've heard great reviews about it. Maybe next year I will reread or catch up on the Brandon Sanderson backlog that I haven't yet read. I don't know. I want to keep it a really good mix of reading and reviewing new books that are coming out in science fiction and fantasy, but also not being afraid to kind of follow where my tastes take me. And if something really strikes my fancy, even if it's an older novel, I still want to read it because I want to enjoy what I'm reading. That concludes the book tag. Short but sweet, really focused on what I want to be reading coming up here soon. But the whole goal is just to enjoy the reading and reviewing adventure. Thank you so much for watching. Have a happy beginning of the fall, and don't forget to support your local library.